Hi guys, we are now delving into the animal source foods, and oftentimes as a way of showing love, we like to do a shisanyama or a braai, if you want to call it, where we gather as a family, gather with loved ones and braai meat. But how much meat are we eating? Is braaiing a good method of cooking? Let's delve into that. The 6 food groups for Zambia that we talked about earlier on includes 4 groups that are plant-based, and the last 2 groups are animal-based foods. And so this group we are going to talk about today is called fish, insects, and animal source foods. When I say fish, I mean kapenta, bream, obvious, tilapia, buga, chisense, pulungu, all those, right? Varieties. And by the way, varieties also have different amounts of nutrients. It could be that they have the same amount of nutrients, but just vary in terms of quantity. But they are all in the group of fish. And when we say insects, another important group which we never considered in the past, when we talked of the food groups, oftentimes the insects were ignored and made or led people to think eating insects is not good nutrition or is not considered to be eating well. I'm here to correct that. Insects are an important source of protein, and by the way, they contain 3 times more the protein in your traditional meats like chicken, beef, and so forth. So insects is another special group, and whether they are edible or not is really up to you. It's based on culture. Some cultures, cockroaches, for example, are edible. And in some cultures, cockroaches are not edible at all. So I wouldn't want to say edible insects because edible is relative, really. But insects, the common ones that we consume are finkubala or caterpillars, inswa or flying termites, fulufute, ishonkonono. All those are in this category. And like I said, they contain 3 times the amount of protein. So if let's say your doctor tells you need to up your levels of protein and you're probably on a budget or you do not know what foods to consume to up your protein levels quickly, trust me, insects are one way in which you can do that instead of your eggs and chicken. And especially for the bodybuilders out there as well, I've had clients come to me and say, I want to build muscle and I have to consume a lot of protein, and they want to go for these protein shakes that are on the market. Yeah, they are good, but why not consider consumption of insects as well? If, of course, that is edible to you, why not? Other traditional meats like chicken, beef, they are all also a part of this group. Fish, insects, and animal source foods. And let's not forget the other foods that we joke about, but they also are important. Monkeys, in some areas they do consume monkeys. Indeba, kopani. You see, those foods are also or would also fall under this category. These foods really are high quality protein. I know for my vegans out there, the struggle may be the quantity of protein that you get from plant-based foods, but for animals, this science has not really found any other foods that contain quality protein as that in animal foods. This group also gives us a lot of minerals and vitamins that are also in some plant foods, but are difficult to access from plant foods. So probably it's because it's animal to animal, like from an animal and you're consuming it as a human being, and that's why it's probably easily absorbed, but also because the plant foods have what we call phytates and all this cell structure that makes it difficult to access the minerals. They are actually substances that bind to the minerals, preventing them from being absorbed. It's like a tug of war with certain minerals or vitamins from plants. So you find that the plant could be high in calcium, for example, but the calcium is tied in this fibrous structure, and the body is like, trying to yank it out of there, and it's really just not coming out. So you do not absorb as much as you need, even if the plant is considered high source of calcium, but it's very difficult for the body to access it. But from animal sources, the minerals really just slide into our bodies. And so that's another reason why this group is important and may be promoted as well. But like I said, I'll continue emphasizing your diet should be mainly plant-based. 3/4 of the food that you eat should be from plants. And then the other quarter from this group that I'm talking about today, the fish, insects, and animal source foods. However, I must warn you that they are quite high in what we call saturated fats. Now, I'm not here to demonize saturated fats. They are fats. Parts of the body, parts of the cell structure is composed of saturated fats. Like your brain, for example, your brain matter has a lot of saturated fats there. So it's not like it's entirely bad, but of course, anything in excess, even a good thing when it's in excess, can actually have negative consequences to your health. And so these foods have excessively high amounts of saturated fats. I'll give examples of, when you see your pork chop or pork steak, that layer of fat is what I'm talking about. That's saturated fats. Or your chicken, the skin that we love, that we fry and make crunchy, is actually saturated fats. And what's worse is the process of cooking of these foods actually now converts that saturated fats into another kind of fat, which is dangerous, which we call trans fats, which I'm glad that now it's actually been banned. You have manufacturers who actually would want to warn you that this is trans fat free, because that's basically what is being promoted. No trans fats available. And we actually say we want trans fats to be less than 1% in any foods. So where possible, the advice to you is trim off the saturated fats, the visible fats, before you prepare your food. So if you're going to boil meat, as you are cutting your meats into small pieces to make that beautiful stew, you may want to remove the visible fats that you are seeing. That's because that saturated fat has seriously negative consequences. One of them is the increase of cholesterol in your bloodstream, because that fat is solid fat, which can go now into your blood vessels and actually prevent the proper flow of blood, increasing your blood pressure. It can also be stored now as excess fat in the body, resulting in weight gain, and weight gain makes insulin release to be hampered or disturbed, and therefore now resulting in diabetes. It's a domino effect. It's one after the other, one problem after the other. And also gout, it builds up what we call uric acid, which goes to settle in your joints, causing gout. And it's painful. For those who suffer from gout, I'm sure you understand what I'm talking about. It's not a pleasant disease to even talk about. So to avoid that, we're saying, number one, trim off those fats, the visible fats, before you cook, not after you've cooked your meat. Like I said, the cooking process converts it into trans fats. But I would actually advise that you stick more to your leaner cuts of meat. So when it comes to fish, insects, and animal source foods, we categorize them in the following. So you have very lean meats. The following are the examples. And then you also have lean meat. And then we have the medium fat meats. And then we also have the high fat meats. What I'm saying now is that the very lean and lean meats are the best choices because they are less in saturated fats. Medium meat and high fat meat should be consumed less often. Occasionally, and I know when I say occasionally or less often, people will be saying, well, is every day, once a day, less often? No, less often, I would say if it's red meats. And when I say red meats, examples are beef, goat meat, lamb, mutton, all that is red meat. And red meat should not be eaten more than once a week. Cut it to once a week because, again, the other negative consequence of red meats is that it takes long for the body to break it down. So you find that 3 days after you've eaten the meat, your body is still trying to deal with it. Like, how do I break this down? So once a week so that you give your body enough time to get rid of it. Personally, I do red meats once in a while, let's say once a month. And then I focus more on the leaner cuts of meat, or what we call white meats. For example, chicken, pork, fish, and again, fish of different kinds. Some days I do go just vegan, where I have beans as my protein source or soya as my protein source and have nothing to do with the animal foods. So that you save on a lot of these illnesses as well. Because even when you cut the visible fat off your meats, you still find that there is fat in the muscle of the meat, what we call marbled fats. It's difficult to get that out. With the white meats, you find that the fat is actually outside in the muscle of the meat. Like, for example, pork. You see that pork, the layer of fat is on top of the meat. And the meat itself has very little fat to talk about. And so it's easy to just remove that fat and give Poppy or Bingo out there, and you just have that meat itself. So how much meat then should we eat? According to our food-based dietary guidelines for Zambia, we recommend that you consume not more than 150 grams of meat per day. So that would look like 3 matchbox sizes. You know the small matches? Yeah, matchboxes. So 3 of those matchbox sizes of meat per day, not per meal. That will come up to about 150 grams. Or you can use your palm as a guide. So the inner palm minus the fingers is about 3 to 4 matchbox sizes of meat or animal source protein like fish, insects, whatever it may be. If you're going out to eat, avoid the 500 grams steak. It's too much. It's in excess. Or share it with someone. Bring your partner close and say, let's have this plate together. Because 500 grams of rump steak or sirloin steak or whatever is in excess. 500 grams is really what you should be eating in a period of, what, a month? Limit your intake to 150 grams. Most restaurants, actually, if you're going out this week, will actually give you a guide. So say 500 grams or 100 grams of meat, and pick the lowest weight of meat so that you are within your limit for the day. That's about how much to consume. So that's for meat. Even for fish, it's not the whole fish. Even when we are saying it's lean meat, it's good meat. Yes, it is. But the whole bream, the whole tilapia, that can feed 3, 4 people. You don't have to eat it all at once in one sitting. And for other foods like kapenta, for example, or insects, the smaller versions of this food group, you would have a handful. Basically, let me say a 250 mils cup is sufficient for the day for kapenta, for finkubala, and all that. And by the way, even if we are saying insects have 3 times the protein in beef and chicken, they also are high in saturated fats. Let's not forget that. The same fats that we are saying you need to get rid of. So don't, again, eat insects in excess. And most of our insects actually have to be fried in oil. And the frying process also produces trans fats. So you also want to limit your insects the same way you limit your beef and goat meat and the red meats to once a week max, or once a month if you can. So let me know in the comments if you have further questions on fish, insects, and animal source foods. Until next time,